Well, Kamala is taking days off and preparing for these interviews. Trump is taking it very seriously. He had very presidential things to do. He went to work at McDonald's. So we got some videos. This is him working the drive-thru. Let's see. It's Trump being Trump. So this is what Trump did. He hung out in the drive-thru window. He chatted people up like that. He was like, hey, vote for Trump. He did the whole Trump thing. There's two good headlines about it. Babylon Bee said Trump forced to cancel campaign rallies for next 2 weeks as time off request denied by McDonald's manager. That's funny. But Newsweek, serious publication from Newsweek. Rumors have been circulating on social media that former President Donald Trump's visit to the popular fast food chain was staged. He did not actually get a job at McDonald's. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your candidate, I'm your congressman, the third most candidate to whatever. You know who I am. I'm the Thing. Come on, Jack. I'm Frank. Along with me, as always.
What's up, Planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Man, you got yours right. Cut, redo. Yeah, one of those days. One of those weeks. The Bucks have me suffering. Chris Godwin might be out for the whole year. Maybe into next year, having a slow rehab. Evans out till week 11. It's hurting my feelings. Because, our defense is not doing good this year. Our offense scores lots. I just don't need this, Charlie. I just don't need this. Anyway. Speaking of things I don't need, election time is coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit about these presidential candidates in a minute. But I had an interesting interaction on X the other day with someone I thought to be sort of a libertarian influencer. I think thought leader seems strong, but I've been to candidate training things with her, and I've seen her at some LPF conventions. There's a woman named Martha Bueno from Miami, and she ran for city council down there around the same time I was running for Congress. And I thought she was sharp. She did some marketing tactics that were unusual but got press. She did a nothing crazy, but she opened up an OnlyFans account where she would talk politics or whatever. I don't know, some sort of, it was politics based. It was fundraising type thing. I think maybe she was in a bathing suit at some point or something in it. She's a good looking woman. And so, people gave her grief and grief in a way that I thought was stupid. It's like, hey, look, we're punching up. We need anything, and it'd be one thing if it was typical OnlyFans content and being like, hey, and also donate to the thing or whatever. But it wasn't that. It was, it was a stunt, and we'll talk about some stunts today. And so, I thought it was good, but so I follow her on the Twitters, and there a few years ago, the LPF, the Libertarian Party of Florida, was raising money for the convention. They do this theme contest, pay for the vote, and then, you can pick your favorite theme, and whoever raises the most fund for a theme, that's the theme. So it's, it's a bit of a fundraising game, but I think it's kind of fun, and I don't like when people do this. She wanted it to be the Martha Bueno convention, which is fine. Other people have done that too. I don't like that, just because it's a party, But she ended up pulling out and dropping out of the Libertarian Party because she was upset that she wasn't getting enough support from the party in the race. The Libertarian Party is small, everybody, they can help in certain ways. But whether you're talking about national, state, or county, no one's got a lot of resources, and so it's just not a reality to think that you're going to get some sort of big push Anyway, so like because of that, she felt like she was, I don't know, supporting them more than they supported her. She dropped out, kind of made a big stink about it, as it was about to be the Martha Bueno convention. And so that was the first time where something happened where I'm like, well, that's kind of weak sauce. But now we're getting ready for this election, and we've got a number of amendments for people outside of Florida. Florida likes to pass constitutional amendments instead of legislation. That way, elected people don't have to put their names on a vote, and so everything gets approved. Our Constitution is so stupid. It's so stupid. It's not like the U.S. Constitution where it's tough to get an amendment passed. It's relatively easy. We passed an amendment that said something about offshore drilling and also vaping indoors. That was one amendment. We banned vaping indoors and something about offshore drilling. So this is the level of sophistication. We restored voting rights for felons after they serve their time, which I support, and in the same year put in the Constitution that if there's a violent crime like murder or something, that the state can force a speedy trial. So when you waive your right to speedy trial, you want to get your lawyer lined up and all that kind of stuff. So that people just vote. They don't know because it's one thing to say restore felons' rights, and also no, don't do that. Those are consistent votes. That's how I voted. That is not how Florida voted, and so it's a mess. Amendment 3 is the recreational use of marijuana amendment. Okay, and there is a lot of misinformation going on about this. And most of it I saw coming from Republicans. Makes sense. Republicans got to be tough on crime. Marijuana is for those hippies. So I get the right in opposition to it. They've run some commercials that are inaccurate. I would say lies. And so here's a couple, right? Just to give a little background, I actually read Florida statutes and laws and amendments, proposals, because as soon as something gets political and they're talking, this does this does this, I go, let me read that. Like the Don't Say Gay bill. I heard so much stuff, I was like, let me just read what's in this bill. And it was kind of a nothing burger. There was some language that's way too vague that should have been cleaned up, like, can't have a conversation about gender issues. It was something so vague where, realistically you could say that you're not allowed to say, Charlie has a mom and dad. Because it's like, technically, according to this law, you can't say that either, Now, a lot of the not allowed to say gay, that's not a thing. Like, it's just not a thing. It's, people say it's a thing. It's not a thing. Most of the stunts that were pulled afterwards, most of the headlines were not the state cracking down on somebody. It was an education employee making a call to make a political stunt, to say, this is what's going to happen. But really it just said, hey, don't do this kind of education for these age groups. Don't do this for this age group. And it really, when you're not talking about sex and stuff with kids below third grade or something like that, you go, I think that's easy enough to accomplish, and quite frankly, if there's going to be public schools, which maybe there should be, but if there's going to be government schools, the people that run government schools are the government. And so the way you get regulations is through the government. I opted out of that system. But anyway, so I read these things to find out what is actually said and what isn't said. So Amendment 3, one of the commercials, was it was going to create a monopoly. I said, I heard that. I was like, well, that's not good, And I was like, that's going to be a compelling reason to get somebody who's generally weed-friendly on the right to not vote for it. Because, it's a red state, and there's more red voters than blue voters, though there's about equal when it comes to no party affiliation. And so what you want to do is, like, Republicans don't care that much about weed anymore. So, that, you want to try and peel some off and just not hit that 60% threshold. So that was the thing. And other than that, it was just, it's going to smell bad. People are going to be smoking it everywhere. And so I saw that. And I didn't think much about it. And then I saw Martha Bueno post something about it. And this was a couple of weeks ago. I asked her, I'm like, hey, where are you getting this creates a monopoly thing? And she, I'm making a video right now. So, all right. So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read the damn thing. And so all you have to search is Florida Amendment 3 full text. And the good thing about state amendments and legislation and anything like that is that, as opposed to federal stuff, what they do is they show you the entire, whatever it's amending, they show you the entire, in this case, an amendment. But they show you the full text of how it is currently. And then they underline additions. They cross out things that it's going to remove, and anything that doesn't have a line is just what is today. It's status quo. Excuse me. So I never saw this video, but then yesterday, as I'm sitting getting ready to talk to the city government, I saw this whole series of posts guiding through the Florida amendments. And a factual basis, giving you just the information and a little bit of opinion on, so you know how to vote. Well, in Amendment 3, she starts reading this thing, and she's reading Section X, number 29, or there's a section in Chapter X, Section 29, whatever. And so that's medical marijuana, right? And so she's like, there's some words or some language I don't like in this. And so the first thing she reads, it's like, well, that's not in the amendment. That's current law. Like, you might not like it, but that's here today. And like, the amendment doesn't change it, but that's here today. And then it was something about, I don't know what it was about. It was about maybe the liability. And then and she also don't like this one. It's like, that's also today. It was verbiage about basically the state cannot, when they passed medical marijuana, they said it needed to be enacted in 6 months, and they put something in there that said basically the state can't drag their feet and just not issue licenses to keep it from happening. Otherwise, you can take legal action. They put it in there, right? So that's from 8 years ago or whatever. So she was talking about how she didn't like that language because it might empower these marijuana corporations to sue to get their way or whatever. And it's like, twofold. One, that's not what that means. Most importantly, it's not what that means. And two, it's from the past. And all it says is that the state can't drag their feet. It's not a carte blanche, lawsuit thing. And then everything she talked about that she did like in the bill was also, or in the amendment, is also not part of the amendment. Like the entire thing. And I shot her a message, and she was like, you're wrong. I'm like, I'm not. And so it went back and forth a couple of times where I think finally she kind of was like, oh no, I am very wrong. So she shifted the goalpost a lot. She's like, well, no, it's not the stuff that's in there that's a problem. It's the new language. And it's like, yeah, except for that's not any of the things that you said. But here's the thing that gets me the most, right? So she talks about, so she made a big deal about this mention about how companies and employees of the companies won't have liability. I don't have the exact language in front of me. It's the same language from the medical marijuana amendment expanded to the recreational world. So they took the exact same language for medical marijuana, and they said also for recreational, this counts too. And what it says is that the simple act of possessing and selling marijuana, cannabis, and cannabis items to, whatever, all the derivatives and the products and all that kind of stuff, that according to Florida law, these companies and these employees are not criminally or civilly liable for the act of possession or distribution for just the marijuana aspect of it, right? If they dip it all in formaldehyde, they're liable, So that's what it says. That's what it means. And so she didn't understand that. And so, but my problem is, so she goes into this whole thing and she like misinterprets. And at first I thought purposefully. And then I'm like, I don't know his purpose anymore. I might have thought more of her abilities to read these things just because of how active she is. What are you laughing at?
How safe you're being.
I'm not trying to be insulting. I think she's a savvy individual, and she's shown it. But in this, and like she even tried to debate or ask a question in the debate with John Morgan, Morgan to Morgan for the people, and he even said like, "Look who you're talking to. Do you think I would bring an amendment that would stop me from doing, consumer laws, some civil lawsuits?" Like he's literally a millionaire from it. He might be approaching a B. I don't know, but
and he's reinvesting in it in the cause.
Like he's this is how he makes his money. This is how he's built an empire, like a nationwide empire. Remember when it was just Florida? Holy cow! Anyway, so that take it for what it's worth, but it's like this is how the man makes his money. You think he's going to give up suing a marijuana company just because he wants this thing? No, never in a million years. But the thing that irks me at the end, right? At the end of this video, she talks to the PACs that support yes on 3, right? True Leave, a bunch. They pour money into it. And other medical marijuana centers, because obviously, if your business is selling marijuana to people, and suddenly it's going to be opened up from anybody with a card to just anybody at all, that's good for you. You like that, and so they're giving money to support it. That makes sense. It's not evil. True Leave is betting kind of hard. I don't know what they've got going on. There might be something crooked with True Leave people. I don't know, but like it's a lot of money to sink into it. But then on the other side, the no on 3 people. Do you know who that's largely funded by? Chuckles?
No on 3. Nope.
So
I could guess.
Guess!
The pharmaceutical industry?
Actually, that would be a good guess. It's not that. It's the Jews. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, have you ever heard? But no, so it's actually the Delta Bros, Delta 8 and Delta 10 type people.
Really?
Yeah. So the Florida State Congress, the Senate and the House, they passed a ban on all Delta products, even though nobody was clamoring for it. They passed it. Well, Ron DeSantis vetoed it. Which was like, oh, that was unexpected. Well, I guess some Delta Bros maybe threw a couple mil towards a re-election campaign, but more than that, they threw a chunk of money towards re-election campaigns or just general campaigns. But then they threw a big chunk towards no on 3. So a lot of the funding for no on 3 is people who currently sell Delta products. The legal through the Farm Bill THC derived from hemp products that just kind of got accidentally legalized. It's kind of weed, but I would imagine not many people are going to buy Delta 8, Delta 10, THCA, whatever all these different things are, when they can just buy actual normal marijuana, right? I think that's a safe assumption. You think that's safe?
Yeah, that market goes away.
I would imagine it goes away pretty good. And so that's the thing. It's funded by people who have a financial interest. Charlie, Martha Bueno and her husband have some businesses. They seem like they're doing very well for themselves. What do you think one of her businesses is?
I don't know. Delta 8?
Well, that's a very interesting thing you bring up here. Let me bring up her profile. Yeah, she has a line of Delta 8 edibles and stuff like that. Oh, she took her link down. Ooh, that's straight crooked. I was going to pull it up off her profile. Let's see. Freedom and liberty, entrepreneur, activist, political commentator, mom of four, the first political candidate to use OnlyFans. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she took it down. That's crooked. So that's the thing. This is what gets me, right? At first I thought she's standing in opposition to this because she has a financial interest in it failing, which is kind of cynical. But it seemed to ring true because, like, nothing in this amendment says anything about a monopoly. It says anybody that's currently licensed to sell medical marijuana is automatically licensed to sell recreational, and they can issue more licenses. That's what it says. Are they? People might say, "Oh, well, the licenses are expensive, or there's not enough of them." Okay, cool. That's a regulatory thing after the fact. Let's solve that. But like quite literally, it says everyone that's already selling weed can keep selling weed, and we're going to issue more license after the fact, which is how liquor works too. By the way, there's licenses. I wish there wasn't. There are. Can't let perfect get in the way of good. But yeah, so she's got like a CBD and Delta edible, maybe other products too. I forget what it's called. It's got a clever name. It's got clever packaging. It's got it's a good looking product that I think they've spent time and money investing in the marketing and all that kind of stuff. But that's a conflict of interest, and you should disclose that. Or butt out, or at the very beginning, instead of being like, so I'm kind of opposed to this. It's going to make a monopoly for True Leave, and I'm just worried about, that you're going to get them the Pfizer liability coverage. That's what she kept calling it. It's like, oh, it's the Pfizer treatment. They won't have any liability. It's like, you're wrong, but are you wrong because you don't understand? Which, based on how she fought back so much on how to read the amendment, a large part of me thinks she just doesn't understand, which is fine. I just don't purport like you do. I think now she understands.
Why can't she just pivot?
She kind of did. She pivoted to say, well, it's just the new stuff I don't like.
But like, I'm just saying, as far as like, if your business is going to be affected, if you're already doing great marketing for Delta 8, just pivot.
I think the thing is you'd have to get a license to process marijuana as opposed to Delta, however you purchase that stuff. Because I imagine people are just selling jugs of Delta 8 juice, and you can do whatever the hell you want with it.
It's easy.
Yeah. But like, I imagine that's the only thing. It's probably expensive, and they probably don't give you that many. Or they don't give out that many permits per area. Just normal regulatory crap, Oh. And one of the only legitimate things she had to say was the restriction of not possessing more than 3 ounces of flour and like 5 grams of concentrate. I agree with that one. It's stupid. Is it legal or isn't it legal? There's no limit on how much alcohol you can have. And yes, it's part of the amendment and all that. But once again, this is one of those things where it's like, no one's going to go to jail or have a misdemeanor on their record for, let's even say, an ounce in their pocket. But having a joint, having, whatever. Like, there's a lot of people that got sent through the system for, went on probation, paid all this money for simple weed possession. This will get rid of that. It will get rid of that as a thing altogether. And then later we can try to make it so you can carry a full quarter pound in your pocket. I think you should legally be able to possess a full pound if you want. That's well and good. I do believe that. But like, it's a step in the right direction. And I think, although it'd be expensive, it's always expensive to get a petition going for an amendment. Get an amendment where it goes, hey, you word it the right way. We would just like to we would like to remove the possession limitations of amendment, or of this section, to not blah, 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 blah. You just write it in a nice way. And people go, all right, whatever, who cares? And I think even the cops won't even be that big into it because it's like 3 ounces, 4 ounces, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, now they got to carry scales on them.
Yeah, and cops do. They weigh everything. They got it in a gym bag. They weigh that gym bag, But it's one of those things like, what's the point? Because like prosecutors too, I think, hey, we caught this guy with 3.5 ounces of marijuana. It's like, well, that's like a misdemeanor. Like, no, just go. Go. Because what is he going to say? Well, 3 were mine and 1/2 ounce was his. And, no one cares. And that's the other part, too. like, say you are up to no good or whatever. I mean, you put 4 people in your car, you can get 12 ounces right there. You know, like you're damn near to a pass. So like, there's just, it's stupid. I think that's something that can be overcome. And it's stupid, but I think without that limitation, it doesn't pass. I think that helps give the appearance of law and order, you know?
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, all of her complaints were totally without merit, other than the possession limitation. But I think the thousands or more people that won't have to be afraid of having a criminal record for simple possession, like that going away, is worth the struggle of not being able to possess more than 3 ounces at a time in the interim until we get that fixed. Like, I don't know. That's mine. Like it sucks if, you know, you just sort of, you know, I don't know. It sucks if you're a housewife and, you know, you just want to be able to do it. Damn it. You just want to be able to do it. But the number of people who would probably be holding less than that anyway, that won't have their lives maybe not ruined by a pot arrest, but inconvenienced, their money taken from them. You know, it's not cheap. You know, even if it's a $300 fine or something, that's $300. You know, and like that could be rent. You know, or a portion of rent, but you know that could be the difference between making rent and not making rent. You know, so I think like to stand in the way of it over that is pretty petty. But really, I think it's the whole thing is that she's standing in the way of it because she has a financial interest in it failing. And I think that's a very cynical thing to do. I'm very disappointed. I've never, like, although I've been in the same room as her a couple times, we've never met. But, you know, I guess by default, I kind of, especially when people are on like my team before she dropped out of my team, that people are generally honest brokers, you know, until they demonstrate themselves otherwise. So this is disappointing. All of her videos are still up, but just now seeing that the link to her Delta products is no longer in her profile, like that's whack. Like that, like,
because she's already been called out on it. You think?
I called her out on that, and I don't know when it happened. It could have happened before that. I haven't really checked until just now. But the fact that you're gonna use your follower count and your influence and all that to try and kill an amendment that would benefit lots of people because you will take a financial hit, and then going out of your way, I mean, it's just going to your settings or whatever, go to your profile, but still, to then make sure that your conflict of interest not only is not disclosed, but is hidden, like, that's gross duopoly stuff, you know? Like, save that for the Democrats and the Republicans. Like, if you're in this liberty movement, like, I don't know, you got to be, I don't know.
She sounds mad.
You know, I mean, she doesn't come off as mad, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It seems cynical and gross. It seems gross. I'm like, that's it. It's gross. I'm very disappointed. I'm not angry, Charlie. I'm disappointed.
God, I heard that so much growing up.
I bet you did. Well, speaking of disappointments, we have Kamala Harris. The next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Right.
She had a couple big interviews coming up. I think it was NBC and I think Univision too, right? Or Univision as well. I don't know if there's a Univision too. So we're getting close to Election Day. So as you would expect, when you have a couple of interviews where, by the way, you get the questions ahead of time, the questions are approved by your team. They're approved by your team, not just because it's Kamala. You know, Trump's people probably do it too. Seems like maybe Trump's team doesn't do it, to be honest. Just the way they ask him stuff. Seems like he talks about anything and everything. I mean, you can hate his answers. You can say he doesn't answer him. You can say he talks crazy. But I mean, people ask him all sorts of stuff, and he just sits there and he says words in response, you know? But anyway, as you would do if you have all the questions and a team of people to write your answers, and it's 2 weeks before Election Day, I mean, what would you do in that situation, Charlie?
I'd kill it and memorize everything I want to say.
Wrong. You would take the full day off. No fundraising, no campaigning, no calls. You take the full day off. So before we get into how the interviews went, a couple clips. Let's hear what Donald Trump says about this tactic. I'll make it big. Yeah, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you, Charlie. Some say I'm the best at waiting. Other people have tried to wait, but not as good as me.
Where Kamala is today, they don't want to tell you. She's... No. You don't know where she is? You know where she is?
Where?
She's sleeping. She took a day off.
Sleeping.
She's got no energy at all. Her speeches last for about 15 minutes. Peter knows that, by Peter.
Who's Peter?
Her speeches
Who's
last
Peter
for
knows
about
it.
15, 20 minutes. She's out of there. And right now, so think of this. We have 14 days to the most important election in the history of our country. It's actually only important for that. For us, it's important. For them, I don't think it's that important. I really don't think it's that important. But you know what she did? She took a day off. How do you take a day off? 14 days, you don't take days off, right? I've gone 52 days now. I got 14 more.
52 days.
We don't take days off. We got to win this thing. If we don't win it...
What's up, CIA in the back?
Big trouble.
Which one?
The one with the chains?
The USA basketball jersey.
I heard it today, and she's taking another day off tomorrow, they say.
Yep.
What the hell?
What the hell?
Maybe she knows something that we don't know.
What was
You
that?
think she knows some kind of result that we don't know about?
Ooh.
Maybe she knows something. I doubt it.
He doubts
No,
it.
she's
Everybody
bad
calm
news.
down.
With your help, 14 days from now, we're going to win North Carolina.
Yeah, whatever. So that was Trump's feedback on taking a day off, or two, according to him. I don't know how many it was, in the lead up to an election. It is strange. I don't know, like, Joe Biden did the whole hide in the basement the whole time for that election. So maybe he took days off this close to election day. Maybe.
That was really weird.
Biden's thing?
Yeah, he just disappeared.
For the election?
Yeah.
He just stayed in the bay. Well, we gotta COVID safe, guys. He's being irresponsible with those rallies. I mean, you don't have to believe in a Dinesh D'Souza ballot stuffing sort of conspiracy to accept the actual fact. This is not a thought. This is an actual fact that multiple states illegally changed their voting laws because their state legislature did not vote on them, which is, according to their state constitutions, how these things have to be done. It was done like emergency powers or whatever. But multiple states did change their voting laws to, longer vote times, longer mail-in ballots, more drop boxes, all this stuff where it's even if you're just doing old school political stuff, I mean, Gangs of New York and Forward and before, where you're literally just going to people, hey, come vote. You want a carton of cigarettes? Come vote, just bring them in. You can get a lot more votes if you have a lot more time, and that's just, that's not conspiracy stuff. People have been doing that forever. If you don't think people do that forever, you are wrong.
Both sides.
I'm sure both sides. Democrats are particularly famous for it in the South, but I have no doubt that Republicans do it as well. But just from our little region of the world, the Democrats have been particularly effective with it. So yeah, I don't know. So for Biden, it does seem that a number of systems got changed in a favorable way in a very anomaly sort of time. And then After that, if you want to talk about all the places that had to stop counting at 2 a.m. and then found like 900,000 ballots, that is also interesting. And see, that's the problem. Let's say they're all legit. Let's say 100%, or let's say 99.95%. There's 5 that are bad. But say they're legit. Florida, they get all their stuff scanned, they put it in, comes out, they go, here you go. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. They go, yeah, we got like 98% of our state counted. So the stuff will come in, but this is what we got. And you go, oh, okay, cool. It's like, I would put them through the Scantron machine. Got it done, like an exam. When you have a state that goes, or like we have Atlanta, or any of these like busy precincts like Philadelphia in swing states, where they go, hold on, we have to black out the windows so no one can watch us work, and also we're gonna pause, and also look, we thought we only had this many ballots to count. Ends up we have like 80,000 more ballots to count that we just didn't see. They were under the table. Silly us. I'm a bonehead sometime. Like, when you do things like this, it feels like cheating. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's legitimate. But it feels like cheating. Like, if it was, if you and I we're gambling, right, on just a simple coin toss, which is basically elections, a coin toss. Flip it, put $5 down. We call tails. I go, it's tails. Charlie wins $5. So I go, all right, 100 times or nothing, right? We flip it, and you give me $500 or nothing. So I flip it up in the air. You go tails. I grab the quarter. I go, hey, I'll be right back. I go to the backyard. I go, oh, sorry, I had to let the dog out. Let's just see what the quarter's at. Oh, it's heads. Maybe it was on heads all along, but that doesn't feel good. Feels like I cheated. I ended up winning, and no one really saw what I was doing for a period of time. That's not good. So these states that are swing states now, Florida, when it was a swing state, it cleaned up its voting practices. And then like DeSantis came in and turned the whole place red. And so now it kind of doesn't matter. But like, they have to clean it up, because there's just no way, there's no way that calls of cheating do not continue. I
remember seeing a video of somebody at one of the counting centers watching it get blacked out, but seeing through the cracks that people were still counting, and they literally said, I thought you guys paused counting. Why are you still counting?
Right.
And they like sealed up the cracks so they couldn't see anything.
Yeah, they were taping up the paper and everything. That was I think that was Atlanta or Philadelphia. I forget which one. But it was like, and then Nevada, like in Vegas. I assume it was Vegas. But in Nevada, they're like, well, votes on Tuesday, So they work until the night. They go, all right, well, we're going to have to resume tomorrow. Our counters need sleep. And everyone goes, all right, you don't have other people that can shift. Whatever, fine. We'll resume in the morning. And then they said something like, we don't have, because, Tuesday, so now we're Wednesday. They go, I don't think we're going to have our final countdown until Friday afternoon. You go, Friday afternoon? What do you mean Friday afternoon? Like, that's, so you're going to, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you need 3 full days for the last, 12%? 88% got counted on Tuesday? In the last 12%, you need 3 days in darkness to count? It feels like, I'm not saying it is, but when you see that thing and you go, till Friday, you go, well, let's see. It feels like someone's going, what's happening in Georgia? What's happening in Michigan? All right, okay, let's see. All right. Yeah, all right, we're ready now. It feels like they're waiting. And there's no proof of it, no conclusive proof. I guess there's evidence, no proof, but not even good evidence. But it's one of those things where it's this is just, it's a problem. It's a problem, and not fixing it is wanting the chaos. And, the Democrats and the Republicans like to keep us at each other's throats so we don't notice how rich and powerful they get. And so when we are calling each other cheaters, we're doing all this kind of stuff, that's great for them, you know? So, like, for all these states that don't fit, and they're not all blue. Some of them are kind of purpley. But to not fix your voting procedures when at this point it's fairly simple to do. You do paper ballots and you have machines that count on the bubbles. And so they count the bubbles. You keep all your paper ballots. You can double check them later. You know, not connected to the internet. It's not a computer. It's kind of a computer, but it's it's just a counter. It just ding, 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 ding,
it keeps it all in one.
Yeah, it's just a dumb counter. You just do that, and it works well. This time, Republicans are, in some of these swing states, Republicans are outperforming Democrats in mail-in and early voting so far, which has never been a thing. Democrats have always skunked Republicans on early voting, and then Republicans skunk Democrats on day of. So day of voting will be interesting. If Republicans outnumber Democrats day of, it's going to be a massive, massive landslide for Trump. Like, if they're equal on day of, it'll be a massive landslide for Trump. Like, even Real Clear Politics, if you do their no toss-up map right now, they have him at like 317 electoral votes, which you need 270 to win, of course. And so that means, like, they have him getting Michigan and Ohio, and I think Wisconsin too, and Nevada and Arizona and North Carolina. And it's one of those things where, like, Minnesota is kind of in play. Minnesota is the state that Tim Walz is the governor of today. He's currently the governor of that state. And that's kind of in play. I guess a quick note on that, and we'll get back to Kamala Harris's interview. This is all over the place. They are pissing off the Arabs. Kamala had someone on her staff who was he was an Arab dude that was like big on like Arab issues, like Arab American issues and like international labor. So, kind of more of the I don't want to say he's in the Muslim Brotherhood, but at the time, like Barack Obama was real friendly kind of with the Muslim Brotherhood in this way, where it's like, okay, so you're kind of more aligned with Islam than, let's say, Judaism, and the whole like Israel being our ally type of thing. And so they keep trying to like, problem is they don't have any real principles. And so they don't know, like Trump's just like, I'm for Israel. He's like, I'm going to end this war. I'm for Israel. So they're trying to play it both ways, and they're just alienating all like the Islamic Arab community, which Minnesota and Michigan have in abundance, But yeah, they fired one of these dudes who was kind of that persuasion, like an Arab dude. And he kind of came out like this, like, this campaign is not for Arab or Islamic Americans. And they're feeling it too. Like they're not showing up for her. I don't know if they'll vote for Trump. It wouldn't make sense to vote for Trump. Other than this, Trump said this the other day, which was really smart. He said, if you vote for Kamala and Walz, we will be in wars, and your children will be at wars in the Middle East. We'll probably be in wars for decades in the Middle East, fighting all these Arab nations. Like, I want peace. They're going to take us to war. We're going to be fighting Iran. We're going to be fighting these people. We're going to be fighting these people. And, if you are, a descendant of that region, especially like you came over this generation or last generation or something, where you have kind of more of a tighter tie to the area, perhaps, than if it was like, I don't know, 5, 6. Anyway, the idea of the U.S. going back into just invading Arab nations and like going to war and like devastating populations, like, it's one thing, Palestine, Lebanon, technically not us, technically.
Yemen.
Yeah. That's hard technically, but I mean, technically, I guess. But yeah, exactly. So you got this whole Yemen, the playground for the Saudis and Iran to have proxy wars. which means us. But yeah, to just be like, oh, also America's going to get back into invading these lands, you have to go like, that actually kind of rings true, the way that they have this sort of spineless support for Israel, just do whatever, but to try to not take responsibility, where you just go, I don't know. Like, they're fine. They have to do it, but I don't know. Like, it's a spineless, just avoid it getting pinned on you type of attitude, where you are going to end up you're going to go to war. You know, like, Israel's going to keep doing what it does. And like,
I keep thinking Kamala's a plant, just to make sure that Trump happens.
Oh, I thought you meant she's so stupid she lives in a pot in the corner of her room.
No. I mean, but she might as well be a plant in the corner of her room. I mean,
but no, she's exceptionally horrible.
Like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just blatant to me.
I'm telling you, this is my big, conspiracy theory or whatever, but like, I think, because all the leaks we heard before, and I've said this before, all the leaks we heard before Biden dropped out was that Obama was behind the scenes. He wanted an open convention, and so whoever, that would be Josh Shapiro maybe, Whitmore, whoever, somebody would come out of it. It'd be horse trading. It'd be a thing, people would come up with their A speeches and they bah, bah, bah.
Shapiro probably would have been the one to go with.
I think no one was talking about him, but the only thing that was against him was if you're going to skip over a woman of color, you probably need to have a woman or a person of color if you're a Democrat. I mean, Josh Shapiro is Jewish.
No.
No, but he is. Charlie, he is. But no, and so, theoretically, that's a potential first Jewish president of the United States, and which is a big deal. And he will be a solid candidate. I mean, that guy, I disagree with almost everything he says, but he's good. Like,
he throws down, that's for sure.
He throws down. He's not afraid of conflict. He has a lot queued up in his, like, between like facts and then also taglines, and just he's got a lot. He's got a lot going for him. He is a real formidable contender, And so he would have been in the dark horse going into it. Gretchen Whitmer, I don't know. Because the other thing is, like, throwing someone at Trump, you don't want to ruin a star's career if you go, hey, wait 4 years, But yeah, so everything said that Obama wanted an open convention. Everybody was leaking. It was leaked out all over the place. Everybody was repeating it. Obama wants an open convention. He's not endorsing Kamala. This is what he wants. And all of a sudden, Biden resigns while he's sick. And then in his letter, but he doesn't say anything about endorsement in the letter. And then a tweet goes out saying, I support Kamala. It was Kamala. Kamala's people, her and her people. This was like the first conniving, but it was their first like real good like coup type political just attack, where it was just like, if we put it out on Biden's Twitter, they can't take it back without admitting that Biden's not in charge of what goes out there, or in charge in general, and they don't want to do that. And I'm sure after that there's a little wheeling and dealing, about, okay, we can't insult Biden, you can't insult,
you gotta be careful.
Yeah, like this is how you have to behave. But no, I mean, I think Kamala got this one. I think it surprised everyone on the left. I think Obama was probably cussing about it. I think, Biden, whenever he woke up from his fever, was not happy about being removed and being replaced. But no, I think it's such a weird, silly move, and it's such like she was totally unliked by everyone on the left. And then suddenly it's like, we love her. It's like no one voted once for her.
Right?
Yeah, like, oh, we love her. And so, anyway, I think it is a weird move, but I think it was her. I think she took it. I think it was very politically savvy. I kind of respect it,
Smartest thing she's done.
Kind of, other than Willie Brown. I mean, One dick can change your life, Charlie. It's late enough in the episode. I think I can say that.
Willie Brown.
Yeah. All right. So she took a whole day off. I'm definitely not getting through all my tabs today. So she took a full day off to prepare for this NBC interview with a friendly host who gave them all the questions. Okay. Let's. Once again, I just have to express, like, Twitter is so much better at finding clips than YouTube. So anybody that watches and goes, look at all these different Twitter accounts that are full of jokers or whatever. I don't care who puts it up. I just want the clip. And YouTube makes it impossible. And then Rumble's just not there yet. But Twitter, great. Good job, Elon. Okay. So here is a question Kamala has been asked before. This is a friendly interview.
You say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time.
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates.
Should
he is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here. And
She
he's
still
not
hasn't answered the question.
running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
What do you
I
think?
am running for president of the United States. I speak with not only sincerity, but with a real firsthand account of watching him do this work. I have no reluctance in saying that. No, of course I don't.
Can you say that you were
All right. Question is, can you say you were honest with the American people, say you never saw Biden's decline? And she said, hey, he was great. He's always been great. Like, let me tell you, I saw so many times he was sharp. So you never saw any signs of his decline. He is always so great. Yeah. Okay. But, you know, we saw in the debate, it was a bad debate. It's like, that was what y'all said when he was staying on the ticket. Just one bad debate. But then everyone called for him to get off the ticket because he seemed senile and demented. So, hey, she's like, look, I'm running for president. It's like, well, are you on the top of the ticket because of that? Well, you need to ask him. It's like, all right. Do you, like, asking her, like, the other question she never answers is, what's the difference between a Kamala Harris administration and a Joe Biden administration? She goes, look, I'm not Joe Biden, and I'm not Donald Trump. And what I need to tell you is Trump wants to blah, 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 blah. And you go, so what's the difference? It's like, look, I was in the room making these decisions. And you know, blah, blah. So you don't disagree with anything. It's my administration. It's like, you're not answering. Like, who are you?
Yeah, and she's acting like she's never heard the questions. But like you said, she knows the questions.
Over and over. And that's the thing. Her team has time to write new answers. They haven't, like,
her facial expression was like, why are you asking me this?
I know. And it's like, well, I think she was hoping to word salad, they move on. But she was like, no, but for real. You know, because it's like, this is kind of important. And it's cut off in this clip. But she goes on to be like, you know, as president, people need to know that they can trust you. And it speaks to, you know, when you say something, people need to know it's the truth. And so you're saying is up until that debate, you never saw anything like that. Right? And she dodges that. Like, the reporter gives it to her. Or it's like, the right answer is, you know, I never saw anything. That debate was really bad and did have me thinking afterwards that maybe he's not up for it. Or whatever, you know. You can say it in a way that's very nice.
Yeah.
You can just say he's always been sharp. He's still sharp to this day. You know, watching that debate, what it told me was, and I think it told him as well, is that maybe this fight for 4 years isn't necessarily a fight for him. Maybe you need to pass it on to someone a little younger, a little bit more energy. He's, you know, I have his full support. It's been wonderful. Joe Biden and Jill, they've just been wonderful supporters. But yeah, no, I think, no, up until then, it's always been good. And it's actually still good now. I think it's something about the high pressures kind of live TV thing that maybe is just, he just doesn't want to do anymore. Something like that. Yeah, hey, and that's, I'm riffing off the top of my head. But, if you had maybe a full day off with a full staff to write your answers, they could do something better than that. They could run it past the Biden team. How about this? How about this? How about this? Okay, we like this. Memorize that. And but no, that's as good as it got. Yeah, it's as good as it gets. All right, let me see what this next one is. Ooh, trans policies. All right, let me rewind this a little bit. And we got a well and down. And down.
On the question of your beliefs, what you believe in, let me ask you this question very
Give me
broadly
something
speaking.
to believe in.
Do you believe that transgender Americans should have access to gender-affirming care in this country?
Yes.
I believe we should follow the law. I mean, I think you're probably pointing to...
Okay, just real quick. We'll keep going. This initial question was, do you think transgender Americans should have access to medical care for the transition surgeries, the gender-affirming care, right? This was not asked about children or inmates or military people or the government paying for it. The question was, do you think trans people should have access to doing the trans sort of surgeries that they do? That's especially in the Democrat Party, but that's an easy question. Yeah, of course. I think a lot of Republicans will be like, adults, yeah, they should have access. They should pay for it. I don't want to pay for it. They should pay. That's an easy yes. Her answer, just like it was on Brett Baer, I think we should obey the law. Okay, but you can do executive orders and stuff that makes a new law. Kind of. It's not a real law, but it works like one. So it's just all right, so she's already dodged the easy one. Should they have access to care? Yeah, absolutely, of course.
To the fact that Donald Trump's campaign has spent tens of millions of dollars.
They're trying to define you on this.
Yes,
I'm asking you to define yourself, though. Just
define
broadly
yourself,
speaking,
Kamala.
what is your value? Do you believe they should have that access?
I believe that people, as the law states, even on this issue about federal
What does
law,
it state?
that is a decision that doctors will make in terms of what is medically necessary. I'm not going to put myself in the position of a doctor, but let's also understand that Donald Trump is running tens of millions of dollars in ads
to hide the fact,
to talk about two cases,
to
distract from the fact that his policy and plan is
Allowed
also
it.
to take away the Affordable Care Act, which provides health care for tens of millions of people in our country. That his plan is to undo the $35 a month cap on insulin.
Didn't he help implement that?
Of seniors in our country.
Wasn't that his big thing he
do
did?
Away with the $2,000 cap on prescription medication, the annual cap. That his plan is to get rid
annual
of the
cap's
Department of Education,
Yeah.
which would mean getting rid of Head Start. That his plan is to give tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations and on the backs of middle-class working people.
Cuts for everybody.
So
Taxes
let's not
stuff.
get distracted by the issues that, to your point from the introductory point you raised,
Which was what?
people want to know that their president has a plan
For
to
trans?
make their life better.
What's your plan for trans?
And that includes bringing down the cost of living.
This is
It
one
includes
awkward
dealing with
interview.
prescription medication costs.
She
It
took a
includes
day off
addressing the
to prepare
housing
for this.
crisis and affordable housing crisis in our country. It includes supporting our small businesses, investing in American industries, and strengthening our economy.
Do you think trans people should have access to gender-affirming care? Listen! Affordable property! Donald Trump has spent money on commercials! Trying to distract about things! That's the worst part about it is okay, so the Trump people, bring up comments that she said out of her mouth on camera about inmates should get gender affirming care, the transition surgeries while in prison on the state's dime. That includes illegal aliens, yada, yada. She's talked about it. I think she's implemented it in California. It's something that she believes in, right? And so that is something outside the mainstream when you're not in California to say, hey, we think taxpayer dollars should help transition surgeries, whether it's military or prison. It's one of those things where a lot of people go, well, I mean, you have fun, but I don't want to pay for it, It's kind of a similar thing, at least in my book, when they talk about like taxpayer funding for like Planned Parenthood. It's like, listen, I'm not one of these people that are going to push for women who get abortions to be arrested and become criminals or anything like that. But pay for your own abortion. Like I'm not going to throw tomatoes at you and hold up signs and judge you all meanly, but you pay for it. Like the two of you.
It's your bed.
Yeah, or was. We got freaky. But yeah, like one or two of you, just pay for it. Pay for it. If not, have the baby. I mean, that's it. I wasn't involved. I didn't make the decision. I didn't introduce you to. I didn't make any decisions on birth control methods. I didn't make any decisions on any of it. And I don't get a say in whether have the baby or not. I'm not paying for it. But she set up with such an easy question. Like, easy. I think even Donald Trump would be like, well, yeah, but they should pay for it. I mean, he's got, oh, shoot. What's the name now? Caitlyn Jenner, thank you. Yeah, I remember the new first name, forgot the original last name. But yeah, Caitlyn Jenner's a big Trumper. Like there's some, the trans community has some Trump folk, I think everyone agrees, like adults. Who cares? Who cares as long as I don't have to pay for it? So that was, let me see if there's another one. I did that. Okay, this is, how long is this one? Okay, so one more from this interview, just so you can see how brilliant she is when she has a full day to prepare for an interview where she's handed all the questions and her team can write all the answers they want. Okay.
We are sitting here 2 weeks away from election night.
Day off.
Last election, the former president came out on election night and declared victory before all the votes were counted. What is your plan if he does that again in 2 weeks?
Well, let me say this. We've got 2 weeks to go.
Right.
And I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand, and we will deal with election night and the days after as they come, and we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, who tried to undo a free and fair election, who still denies the will of the people, who incited a violent mob to attack the United States Capitol.
Legally,
and 140
he did
law
not.
enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed.
None were killed.
This is a
literally
serious
none.
matter.
Only a protester was killed.
The American people are, at this point, 2 weeks out, being presented with a very, very serious decision about what will be the future of our country.
Butterfly. Okay, so, January 6th, blah, blah, blah. Man, how much time we got? Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah. So, I guess from this, we'll get into what Trump was doing during this time. Oh, real quick, I'm not going to read the article, but Trump is confirmed for Joe Rogan on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, like they haven't been able to finalize the Harris details, and they won't, of course. But Rogan's confirmed on Friday. I don't know if it releases on Friday, Monday, when it releases, but it's happening. So that's kind of a giant deal. It'll be interesting, Rogan said good things and bad things about Trump, good things and bad things about Harris.
And a variety of people follow him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, 17 million YouTube subscribers, another 15 million Spotify subscribers. So it's, It could be interesting. And like the thing is, like, I think Rogan probably wanted both of them to be confirmed, but Harris won't do these things. I just saw that Theo Von. I was right before I went to a conference call this morning. Theo Von just had JD Vance on, and began. He was like, "I'd love to have Vice President Harris. I'd love to have Tim Walz. We got things out there. I'd love to have them." But that's the thing. Like all these places, like I'd love to have them, but they don't want. And the male vote is severely lacking for the Harris-Walz campaign for every ethnic breakdown. I think more white dudes, percentage-wise, than probably every other ethnicity. But still, most white dudes are for Trump. Most black dudes, maybe not most black dudes, but a substantial number. It might even be most. But like dudes are pretty solid in the Trump camp, and so they need to get to this audience. But I think they know that she's an idiot and she has nothing to say. Because like if you can't hold up to NBC going like, right, but I mean, but what is your thought on the matter? Like on the like both of these were softball questions. And she was just like, I can't answer that. I'm not. What are you, crazy? I'm not going to answer if I think trans people should have access to gender affirming care. That's crazy. I won't answer that. Like that is the easiest. Like yes, it's not. You don't even have to explain it. Like yeah, of course. Yeah, they should have access to medical care. So then they get into plans. You might go, well, I don't like that plan. But
I just can't imagine keeping the interview going with somebody who's just a wall of nothing.
That's her. She's just a wall of nothing.
It's got to be frustrating. Like, I have these questions and you're not answering them.
Especially when you're on, like, imagine being a supporter. Like, I am a Democrat. I want Harris to win. I'm going to make a good interview, and I'm going to try and use my skills to make her feel comfortable enough. Show us who you are. Show us who you are.
She's setting her up well.
Yeah, just come on. Just knock it out of the park. And then just like swing and a miss. And you go, how about this? Swing and a miss. You go, what if I lead you and then you just say yes? And it's like, swing and a miss. You go, what? I don't even know what's happening. It's like, remember watching the clips from the, I forget the group. It was like a black journalist group, And like when she left the stage, like it was confrontational. When she left the stage, all three of them kind of went like, they all looked at each other like, shit, that's what we got. And like everyone was unimpressed. Everyone was just like, I don't like her. And I really want to like her. Okay. So she brings up January 6th, right? This Texas couple has just been convicted of a prison term. Mark and Jaleese Middleton handed a 30 and 20-month sentence, respectively. So I'm going to just read this from the Blaze. A Texas married couple who said police assaulted them while they were praying on January 6th were sentenced to years in prison on felony and misdemeanor charges stemming from their time outside the Capitol during the protests and stuff. So they wanted house arrest. Justice Department wanted 7.25 years for each. They were sentenced to, Mark got 30 months, followed by 3 years of supervised release. And Jaleese got 20 months, followed by 3 years of supervised release. So in February, they were found guilty by a D.C. jury of assaulting, resisting, and impeding 2 police officers, civil disorder, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct, engaging in physical violence, and several other related misdemeanors. All right. So, obviously, the charge of obstruction of an official proceeding was thrown out because of the Supreme Court saying, like, that's not how that law works, you masters. All right. So the crux of the Middleton's case was what took place at the police line on the Capitol's West Plaza at 2:10 p.m. Large crowd, Police on the West Front. Yeah. So this is the first time I've seen this mentioned in a news article, which is why I wanted to bring it up, because I've watched the videos. Police on the West Front had been lobbing explosive munitions and firing other projectiles into the crowd for more than an hour Capitol Police security video showed. A grenade exploded 6 people deep in the crowd about a minute before the Middletons had their tangle with police, security video showed. Tear gas swirled about... This is my thing. Before anyone broke through any barriers, they were lobbing explosives and shooting non-lethal rounds into the crowd. It pierced a man's face. It went through a man's face. They're assaulting people who are chanting mean words or whatever, but they're in their little space. And like these guys are like, I know what'll settle them down. Yeah, exactly. Just stirring the pot. Like, I know what'll settle them down. Let's just hit them with shit, you know? And it didn't work, believe it or not. Ends up, when you have a large protest that's a little upset, it's real easy to turn them into an angry riot if you just hit them with things while you hide behind bars. All right. So they say if police had not picked up the bike rack barricades and pushed them into the protesters, they would not even have made contact with officers. They described, prosecutors described as a couple preparing to throw their bodies against the police line was actually the Middletons facing each other and praying, a defense attorney said. So I guess they looked at each other, and the prosecutor said, that's them going, we're going to throw ourselves on this thing. And they go, we were praying.
Those two people? Come on, guys.
Yeah, the old people. Look at these people again. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
They might yell mean words. But, all right. Videos do show that at one point, Mrs. Middleton's scarf was being pulled by a police officer, and Mr. Middleton has testified that he tried to pull Mrs. Middleton away from the police line and to have the police let go of his wife. So, cop grabs her scarf, pulls, she's like, and he's like, hey! So the lawyer says, that's a natural reaction that any person would have, even if the two people hadn't been married for decades. I agree. Brenwall said this lawyer says that there's no question that the police initiated contact with the Middletons and others nearby. Her behavior only happened because she was assaulted first, hit by a police officer, and pushed by a large violent protester behind her. The officer was pulling her scarf and choking her, and Miss Middleton indiscriminately swatted at him to escape what she perceived was going to be a sudden death. Prosecutors took a dimmer view of the 5 to 7 second encounter. Mark Middleton heckled police officers, including by shouting obscenities. Okay. Together, the Middletons threw their bodies into the barricades. When officers tried to restore the barricades and ordered them to get back, both Middletons assaulted 2 officers. I mean, like...
Those 2 took out barricades? Okay.
They were just like, give me these. They're like, we're going to put them back. They're like, oh, hell you are. I'm fighting on this one. Like, it's just... Like, what was it? Is she a 57-year-old woman? It's like, I'm sorry. Like, no. It didn't happen. And then also, the prosecutors cited the political speech of them and accused them of spreading falsehoods. Mark Middleton has used his Twitter to trumpet, on at least a daily, if not almost hourly basis, convicted January 6 rioters, promulgated conspiracy theories about the 2020 presidential election, and spread baseless lies. None of that stuff's a crime. The Middletons bragged about their deeds on social media and lied under oath during the trial, the DOJ said. They have sought to personally benefit by using the notoriety of their crimes to raise money and seek fame. So the lawyer says, Ms. Middleton made no false statements while testifying. Her testimony lines up with the video evidence in the case, as well as other testimony and videos from other J6 trials. The Middletons had a right to exercise freedom of speech regarding their concerns over the 2020 election. When this court considers all the factors before it, the court must conclude that these were not actions of someone trying to overthrow the government, blah, 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 blah. So the lawyer was like, yeah, they probably shouldn't have been there to begin with. But the aggressiveness demonstrated by the police in this instance was not the finest example of police behavior and ended up being counterproductive as it inflamed passions in the crowd. Let's see. Jalise Middleton. So here's so Jalise Middleton said, I felt responsible to let my voice be heard and make a difference. The truth is, Jesus Christ makes the difference. My only job that day was to pray and to stand firm amidst the chaos that quickly ensued. I forgot to trust him. Furthermore, I do passionately believe my actions that day were consistent with what any person would have done in our shoes. The FBI seized her wedding ring while executing a search warrant at the couple's home. agents then took it with them. They've been married since 1990.
Of course they did.
And she goes, wouldn't a photograph have sufficed? So I don't know. Maybe they got it back. Maybe they didn't. But this is it's starting to drive me nuts on the January 6th stuff. Because, I know intelligent people who just don't follow politics very well. And they remember January 6th. They remember everything they saw on TV. Like, how chaotic. And then, that's all the new information. Other than, people are going to court for it. But you go, hey, you ask them, hey, what about, the security indiscriminately firing into crowds that were, at that point, still, peaceful as far as violence goes. They were loud. They go, oh, did that happen? It's like, yeah. It's like, what about Donald Trump requesting National Guard and then being turned down? It's like, oh, is that a thing that happened? Yeah. And what about the Capitol Police were asking for backup from their boss lady, and she just didn't reply the whole time? What about not telling any of the officers on duty that day that there'd be a huge crowd, not staffing it fully, keeping the same staff you would on a random Wednesday? It's just everything they did was just suspect, and most people just don't even know they're January 6th. They were just crazy Trump rioters, probably QAnon people. And it's these people are getting
They held the door for them.
They held the door open for them. And so even with that, convict them of trespassing. Fine. They're trespassing. Well, 54 years. They're both 54 years old. And it's you're going to send them, you're put him in for damn near 3 years and her for damn near 2 years. That's ridiculous. Who in society are we protecting? Because they said mean words. All right, just real quick. While Kamala was taking days off and preparing for these interviews, Trump was taking it very seriously. He had very presidential things to do. He went to work at McDonald's. So we got some videos. This is him working the drive-thru. Let's see. It's Trump being Trump.
A lot of fun here, everybody.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Look at all the fake news.
Yeah, the fake news of
Hello,
it.
everybody.
You can fake this,
And
right?
you know this is compliments of Trump, okay?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Mr. President,
Yes.
please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil.
We'll keep it
Please,
good.
Please,
We're going to
please.
make it better than ever, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Mr.
Compliments
President.
of Trump.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So this is what Trump did. He hung out in the drive-thru window and he
Thank
Nice
you.
to see
You
you.
too.
chatted people up like that. He was like, hey, vote for Trump. He did the whole Trump thing. Here, we're just going to go through a couple of these real quick. Hey, will you give me my stuff back here? All right, here's Trump working the fries. Which Kamala said was her job.
I'm gonna take care of these.
Okay.
He's like, all right. He's like, all right. Shaking it loose. Oh, boy, looks like he can make some fries. Dump them in. Let's see. At some point, I think in this clip, he says he likes his fries extra soft.
Hang it right up there. And then
I like mine a little
this one over
firmer.
here. I did these ones already. They're good. You just gotta do that one right there. So grab
Let me
that
give him extra salt.
Oh, extra salty, so give him extra salt. That makes sense.
right there, and then we're gonna grab the surprise scoop right here, put it into there, and just give them a twirl that way.
Give him a swirl. Look at him. Look at that man.
Okay.
Don't tell me that man can't scoop fries. He did it.
Timer, bring that one up.
He did it. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Stop it, Charlie. Yeah, give it back one down. See. Okay. Look at Trump. In his apron.
Make it back.
Mr. President, you actually have worked at McDonald's now versus.
Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala.
Are you going to put this on your
I
resume?
never worked here.
Why would she lie about
15
something
minutes more than
like that?
Kamala.
Will be put on your resume.
I worked at McDonald's.
Look
Why
at
would she lie
McDonald's.
about that?
Why? Because she's lying Kamala. That's why.
Because she's lying Kamala, that's why.
President, you actually have
Like, what do you
worked at
want?
McDonald's now versus.
She's lying Kamala. Let's see. Alright, I think we got one more. Oh. Okay, this is just real funny. Let's just talk about this real quick. So, this guy running in Missouri against Hawley with this dude, anti-Trump Republican type. They went out shooting to show, like, hey, Missouri, like, we're good on guns and stuff. So first thing I want you to see in this photo is Kinzinger in the light blue shirt has a full scope on this rifle. He is shooting cans that are like 15 feet away. And like, look at that's not like red dot optics. That is a full scope to shoot 15 feet. I hope he hit it. But here's the thing. They did hit the reporter. They accidentally shot the reporter. So while they were showing how good they are with guns, they shot the reporter. Look at it.
What an awkward photo.
Yeah, it's Kinzinger looking at the candidate going into the med kit to help dress the wound. It looks like they grazed his arm.
Dude, snapping a picture in the background.
I know. He's got a tourniquet on. He's got it's one of these you shot.
He's still holding his mic.
Yeah, that's a good reporter. He got shot in his mic hand. He still holds it. So listen, he's a professional. Let me see. So back on Trump stuff. We can get rid of all this. Back on Trump stuff. Oh, first, there's two good headlines about it. Babylon Bee said Trump forced to cancel campaign rallies for next 2 weeks as time off request denied by McDonald's manager. That's what's funny. But Newsweek, serious publication. I need you to sit down for this, Charlie. Sit down. Are you seating?
We're good.
Oh, okay. This is a lot. From Newsweek. Rumors have been circulating on social media that former President Donald Trump's visit to the popular fast food chain was staged. He did not actually get a job at McDonald's, Charlie.
Really?
I know it looked like it. I know it looked like they trained him. He worked the window. He did the fries. It looked legit. I mean, he had the apron on over the tie and the shirt. It was staged.
He said he was going to put it on his resume, though.
I don't think it's true. I don't think Donald Trump's going to put McDonald's on his resume. I think the whole thing was just a political stunt in Pennsylvania ahead of the Steelers game. I never would have known that if not for Newsweek.
Can we go back to the shooting here real quick?
Sure. Okay.
Do you think that this could possibly have been staged?
I mean...
Like an anti-gun? I mean, he's got a gun with a scope that's not for 15 feet.
Well, so Kinzinger was like a Marine. Or no, he was a Air National Guard. And he was a Republican. But he got very anti-Trump. He was one of the people that voted for the impeachment and all this stuff. And now he's got a job at CNN. And so he's a CNN guy. But he's one of these I was in the military, so... I might be a lefty CNN guy, but I'm a tough man. Check out the guns. Look at them biceps. He's got that CNN money now. And this other guy is running as a Democrat against a fairly popular senator for Missouri. And so it's Missouri, so they're trying to do the Tim Walz thing. But we're not anti-gun. Look at us use guns. We'll shoot ARs. We'll shoot AR-15s. And we can get pictures of us shooting. And the photos aren't this angle was not going to be the photo that they're going to show. They were going to show, well, maybe they would have, who knows? Shooting cans just nowhere ahead of them. I mean, these dudes that actually own these guns, because it's not either these guys, they got all these things sighted in perfectly for 15 yards, as much as you can do that. And made it as idiot-proof as possible, where it's you really shouldn't miss any of this.
You better be hitting the O in the Coke.
Oh, my God. And so, yeah, but no, I think old nerdy dude next to him, I'm trying to look at his trigger discipline. It looks like it might be okay. It's holding everything weird. But, no, I think it was, I think they wanted to show that they were... gun people. We just want reasonable laws, and I bet you he just did something stupid, or I don't even know what. He either had poor trigger discipline, or he put it down in a weird way. He did something, but it looks like he grazed that reporter's arm. And, I mean, the last politician I heard to shoot somebody was Dick Cheney, who is also on the Harris team. So maybe that's just a new Democratic thing. Like, hey, we like war, and we'll even shoot people on our own side. America.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it's a weird transformation. All right, so that has been kind of the excitement. Kamala continues to, I guess, implode is the only way to really put it. Like it doesn't seem to be going well. Seems like she's imploding, and Trump keeps doing these podcasts. Rogan's next, but the podcasts seem to be really working for him. I think long form works well for him, and that like he can rant and he can kind of joke, and he doesn't have to be, you know, when there's no gotcha or anything, he can kind of show his actual personality, which seems to be fun, you know?
Like he's more relaxed.
Yeah, he seems more relaxed and fun, you know? Like these little interviews with NBC or whatever. Like, now everyone says you're a racist. Oh, gosh, I forgot I'm not supposed to say that word. Anyway, everyone says you're this, and you know, what do you say about that? Like, yeah, you know. So like it's like, oh, it's a fight, huh? And so everyone just sees angry Trump yelling all the time. But I think these podcasts have, at least with the audience, which tends to be young male, I think it's a positive thing. I think it's actually made them more relaxed going into some of this other stuff, like the McDonald's and all this stuff. I think he is showing himself to be a more Joe everyman type, which is tough to do as a billionaire. But like he's kind of shown himself as more of a laid back dude that you might want to have a beer with, even though he doesn't drink beer. And Kamala Harris, who did a stunt on Late Night Show where they drank a beer together, and she definitely normally drinks Miller High Life. But like she's showing that like you can't even talk to her. You can't even have a conversation with her. Like, I mean, about anything, even about stuff that you agree on. Like, she won't answer anything at all. Like, I mean, she's a murderer. Or, I mean, she's a murderer on trial. She can't recall. She just talks around stuff. Like, don't answer anything. Don't answer anything. And I don't know, man. This really might be, you know, we've been talking about how close the polls are and how Trump tends to overperform these numbers. But this legitimately might be just an epic ass whooping. Like, if they lost Minnesota, I don't think they will. But if they did, I wouldn't be totally surprised. If they can make New York a less than 10-point Democrat win, that might mean that Republicans pick up House seats or whatever. But there's a chance that he wins the popular vote. And this sounds crazy because it hasn't happened in a while, but like, I don't know. She's just that bad. She's just been doing that bad of a job. I mean, and it's not that he's been, I mean, I think there's positive moves by his campaign, but she's just so bad. Just so bad. And she's coming out of a term as vice president that has not been great for the country. And it's hard to tell people things have been great when it's hard to buy groceries and pay rent. And it wasn't 4 years ago, outside of COVID. All right, well, that will do us for this week. Hopefully no more hurricanes come through. What do you got for everybody?
Traffic is terrible.
Traffic. Looking for my chapstick. There's a Ford Maverick. That's right. Rapping. All right. Bye, everybody.